Hello, my name is Daniel Steinweg, and this is my Assessment 1 multimedia essay for ALL102 Horror to Romance genre and its revisions. So, I've chosen Carol A. Sem's reading entitled Dracula, Stoker's Response to the New Woman, to which I identified the argument from Carol that the heroines of the New Woman writers heralded the way for a more realistic portrayal of women in 20th century fiction. A contemporary of these writers, Bram Stoker revealed a degree of ambivalence towards them when he creates the women characters in Dracula. As a result, he tries to show that modern women can combine the best of traditional and the new when he creates the heroine of Dracula, Mina Harker. So I'll be relating this reading to Bram Stoker's Dracula and Liliane Amirpour's A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. So to understand how heroines of the New Woman writers may have influenced women's portrayal, we first need to understand the concept of what and who the New Woman was, or represented. So Charlotte Rich describes her as a social and literary phenomenon rooted in British and American culture that flourished from the 1890s through to the 1910s, offering a liberatory new concept of womanhood that departed from Victorian propriety. But generally, the characteristics of the New Woman were along the lines of being committed to and promoting the advancement of women's independence. This was a time where women were campaigning to vote and were much more assertive and outspoken. They were breaking stereotypes for what kind of work women could enter, and this was also reflected with New Women writers, with heroines and main characters that were women, usually in roles that were traditionally reserved for men, such as business owners or medical practitioners and such. The New Woman generally prioritized personal freedom over domestic duties and were generally wary of marriage. They promoted and discussed greater sexual freedom, and this covered a whole range of topics. And the concept of the New Woman was certainly not exclusive to only British and American culture, with there being writers from both sexes and varying backgrounds in this progressive era worldwide. This included Ireland, where Bram Stoker was born and his family resided. Oops. Oop. So Stoker certainly published Dracula at a time when the New Woman identity was still in process of development and perhaps considered controversial during a still largely patriarchal Victorian era. I feel to understand Stoker's personal life is to understand more the motives and reasons why he portrayed women the way he did in Dracula, considering vampires are traditionally associated as symbols of sex and perversion. It's pretty clear to me that Stoker may have been conflicted himself in his views of women's roles. Sem quotes Daniel Farson, who in his biography on Stoker reported that the Stoker family were in awe of Charlotte, Stoker's mother, if not actually afraid of her. From the influence of his strong feminist mother, who actively championed downtrodden women in local Dublin workhouses, you could suggest Stoker at the very least respected, possibly even feared strong women, but he himself must have been a supporter of gender equality to some extent. So I agree with Senth, who suggests that as far as this gender equality issue goes in Stoker's female characters, he seems to draw the line at the freedom of expression for female sexuality. By females turning into vampires, aka sexually free, they must be destroyed. The depiction of Lucy's transformation into a vampire reflects men's fear of sexual role reversal that the New Woman threatened, which comes to a gruesome climax when she is ultimately destroyed and her body savagely desecrated by a group of men in her tomb. Stoker's creation of these three female vampiress characters, who seem to have no other purpose other than being depicted as soulless beasts before being destroyed at the hands of the patriarchal incarnate, Dr. Van Helsing. Even Stoker's heroine Mina Harker has her honour restored only once the vampire's curse has been lifted through Dracula's destruction. She then reverts back to a supportive role for Jonathan and conceives his child, but ironically without her reason and wits, the group wouldn't have tracked down and destroyed Dracula in the first place. One cannot simply make a vampire film today without being aware of Stoker's original work. So we might assume that Amirpour is informed of Stoker's representation of women in Dracula. Amirpour herself comes from a perspective of a woman living and working in contemporary America, but additionally from within Iranian culture. And still in this modern day, this culture can suppress women's rights by tethering them to their husband and relegating them to maternal and domestic duties, much like Mina Harker in the end of the book. She understands the struggles women face in today's society from multiple perspectives, so she is more qualified to make a comment on what women's roles should be. Like Mina, the vampiric heroine in A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night is a virtuous, strong female character, yet where Mina is ultimately pigeonholed to traditional roles, the girl remains completely free to express herself however she wants at all times. She is a free agent who moves around as she pleases, and she is obscure in her exact intentions, but instills confidence about her character through her actions, coming off as a reasonable, wise, and strong character exuding personal power. Her apartment reveals she's knowledgeable about a world outside of Bad City, and her interactions with other characters in the film show high emotional intelligence and awareness. She destroys Sayed the pimp after witnessing him abuse women and after he tries to do the same to her. She also destroys Arash's father Hossein after he assaults and drugs the prostitute. She even forcibly influences the young boy in the neighborhood to be a good boy, showing she hopes the younger generation of boys do not make the same mistakes as their fathers. The girl tolerates Arash and builds a relationship with him because he shows humanity and genuine care for her during their first meeting and does not try to be sexual towards her. The girl sees hope in him. She's been dead so long that his pure heartbeat seems to soothe her. Arash is sick of Bad City as well, and once his father is dead, he has nothing left to stay for, and they eventually drive off together, seemingly towards a new future in which male and female can coexist in a mutual respect of each other. So, yes, surely the heroines of New Women Writers help shift the paradigm of women's portrayal in 20th century fiction. Literature has a long history of influencing contemporary reason and society. Stoker dared to explore, as other New Women writers also did, the developing possibilities of the roles of women that they can and what they can play in society. Perhaps his work did not fully represent all these possibilities due to his own shortcomings, but it was a step in the right direction, especially during the times it was published. Amirpour shows that while there is still toxic masculine behaviour at work in today's society, there is a chance of real change possible. With acknowledgement of these problems and participation of both sexes, we can walk towards a future of equality together. That's it. That's my presentation. Thank you for watching.